Hello, third grade, and welcome to Unit 1, Week 5 of Language Arts. Your vocabulary words for this week are the first word is carve. Carve means to cut something into a certain shape. So if you've ever bought a piece of wood that's carved into that has your name carved into it, or that's carved into the shape of the letters that make your name, that's one way to use the word carve. If you've seen Mount Rushmore, for example, that's one of our national monuments. It's a man-made landmark. There you can see several of the president's faces carved into the side of a mountain. Your next word is the word traces. Traces means a small amount of something, so something that's left behind. So we found traces of paint on the chair, so there was a little bit left over. Or you may find traces of something that was spilled on the floor that you thought you cleaned up. There may still be a little bit of it. Your next word is the word clues. Clues are hints that help you solve something. So if you have a question or a mystery, or if there's a problem, clues help you to find the answer. Grand means something that's really good or excellent. So we can say that the sculpture was grand. That means it's really nice, it's really good. Grand also has a secondary meaning that means something that's really big. But for your vocabulary word for this week, we're talking about grand meaning something that's really excellent or something that's really good. Your next word is the word national. Now, national is usually used when we're describing something that's related to a country. So a national holiday like President's Day, or a national monument like Mount Rushmore is found in the United States. It's something related to that country that it's in. Your next word is the word massive. So massive means something that's very large, something that's huge is massive. So you can say, we saw the massive sculpture at the museum, or that skyscraper was massive, it was so big. Your next word is the word landmark. A landmark is an important building or place or structure that has some kind of significance in that country. So like we were talking about, Mount Rushmore is an important landmark in the United States. We have lots of other landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And your next word is the word monument. A monument is a building or a statue or something that was built for a specific reason, and that reason is to honor a person or an event. So if something important happened there or someone important is from there, you may find a monument in that area to remember or honor that person or that event. Now, your spelling words for this week are focusing on the long O sound. The long O can be made a couple different ways. You have the long O that's OA. You have the long O when it's the only vowel in a word. You have the long O when it's O consonant letter and then E, or OE, or OW. So your spelling words for this week are the words coast, float, toad, coal, soak, gold, sold, scold, slope, broke, note, bone, slow, show, foe, snail, same, way, bowl, and program. Now, for our ELA and grammar notes for this week, we have a couple different things that we're going to talk about. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back and talk some more about sentences. Now, a simple sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought, and it includes your one subject and your one predicate. So a simple sentence can be Sarah likes to read, or Sarah does not like to write. Now, one thing we can do is we can combine simple sentences to add variety and make our writing more interesting for someone to read. So when you have two sentences that you want to combine, you usually combine those two simple sentences by using a comma and a coordinating conjunction, and, or but. So I can say Sarah likes to read, comma, but Sarah does not like to write. So you can see that we have both of our simple sentences in there, and they're separated by this comma and our coordinating conjunction. So that's what we do when we combine two simple sentences. Now, a compound sentence contains two related sentences that are joined by a conjunction and or but. So when we're combining sentences, we turn them into a compound sentence. Remember, compound means more than one thing that we put together. So the coordinated conjunctions each have a different function, or they have a different job. So the coordinating conjunction and puts together ideas. When we use the coordinating conjunction but, it shows that we are changing our mind, or something happened to show a change in the thought process. And if we have the word or, it tells us that we have a choice. We're choosing between something or something else. Now remember, you always put a comma before those coordinating conjunctions when you have a compound sentence. So I can say we went to the park, comma, and we went to the store. I can say we were going to the beach, comma, but it started to rain. And I can say, do you want to ride bikes, comma, or do you want to go for a walk? So I'm able to use all of these different coordinating conjunctions by adding a comma before I put them in. Then I put my coordinating conjunction, and then I put my other simple sentence that I combined. Now, we always begin a simple sentence or a compound sentence or any kind of sentence with a capital letter, and we end them with the correct punctuation. So if it's a declarative sentence or a statement, you are just using a period at the end of it. Declarative means when you declare something, you're saying it. So you're just making a statement. If it's a question, or which is also called an interrogative sentence, we end it with a question mark. And if it's an exclamation or an exclamatory sentence, we end with an exclamation point. So remember, no matter what kind of sentence you're writing, you begin with a capital letter, you end it with the right punctuation. Now we're going to talk really briefly about multiple meaning words. So these are words that have more than one meaning, and we can usually figure out which meaning the author is talking about by using our context clues and looking at the rest of the words in the sentence or in the story that help us, guess which one that the author meant. So if I say there were only 2 elephants left, now the word left can mean the opposite of right, like, put out your right hand or put out your left hand, or it can mean how many of something are remaining. So when I say there were only 2 elephants left, I'm talking about how many are remaining, and I use the rest of my sentence to help me figure that out. If I have the sentence that says, duck and cover under your desk in an earthquake, I know duck has more than one meaning. I can talk about, the feathery bird that flaps and quacks, or I can be talking about ducking, like when you duck, you're squatting down and tucking yourself under something. So I know from the sentence, it says duck and cover under your desk in an earthquake, I know that it's telling me that I need to squat down under something so that I can keep safe. So always use your context clues, all those little clue words around the word that you're not sure about to help you figure out what the meaning is. Now, another thing we're going to talk about just very briefly is compound words. So compound, remember, just like a compound sentence is when you're putting 2 whole things that are already whole by themselves, you're putting them together to make a new thing. So compound words take 2 individual words, so 2 words that are already words by themselves, and you put them together to make a new word that sometimes has a different meaning. So base and ball are both separate words. I can put them together to make the word baseball. Back and pack are 2 separate words. I can put them together to make backpack. Over and time can be put together to make the word overtime. So like if you're watching sports and they go into overtime. Home and made are 2 separate words. I can put them together to make the word homemade, and same for class and room to make classroom. So remember, compound words are words that are made up of 2 or more separate words that are already words by themselves. When you put them together, you make a new one, but it's not the same thing as saying faster. Is not a word. Fast is a word, but faster is a word that has an inflectional ending at the end. It's not a compound word. Compound words, remember, have to be made up of 2 separate words that you put together to make a new word. I do have some useful videos for you down here, and I've got 2 of them on compound words for you. So please make sure you go ahead and check those out. Before you start your work, make sure you go through all of your work and all of the videos and notes very carefully before you get started to make sure you're doing everything the right way. Now, for language arts this week, I'm going to be putting your videos and notes into this material icon that you're going to see. It's going to be listed under current assignments, and it says ELA notes and video links. So everything for our notes and videos, instead of trying to attach them to every single assignment, I'm going to put them right here for you. You'll be able to click on it and open it, and it'll give you all of the links that you need for language arts. So let's go ahead and hop into your weekly stories. So we're on Unit 1, Week 5, and we're talking about a mountain of history. That's going to be our story this week. We are continuing working on expository text. Now remember, expository text is a genre that talks about nonfiction writing that teaches us something. So let's go ahead and listen to our weekly story.
Genre: expository text. Time for kids. A mountain of history. Mount Rushmore honors 4 special United States presidents. They are George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. How can a mountain be a monument? Every year, millions of people travel to Mount Rushmore. It is a mountain in the Black Hills of South Dakota. What is so important about this mountain? The heads of 4 United States presidents have been carved into its side. Mount Rushmore is a national landmark. It is also a national treasure. Rushmore's birth. An artist named Gutzon Borglum designed the monument about 80 years ago. He chose the 4 presidents. They were symbols of our country's best qualities. George Washington led the new nation. Abraham Lincoln ended slavery. He kept the nation together during the Civil War. Thomas Jefferson helped our country grow. Theodore Roosevelt saved land for parks. These leaders stand for the first 150 years of American history. People from all over visit South Dakota's Mount Rushmore National Memorial. Stop and check. Ask and answer questions. Why are the 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore symbols of our country? Reread to find your answer. Carving a monument. Creating Mount Rushmore was a big job. First, the artist made small models of the faces. He used them to guide the workers. The workers used dynamite to carefully blast away the rock. Then they used tools to carve the faces into the massive mountain. 400 people worked for 14 years to finish the grand sculpture. The monument cost almost $1 million. Think big. Just how big are the faces on Mount Rushmore? Really big. The faces of the presidents are 60 feet tall. That is as tall as a 6-floor building. Their noses are 20 feet long. Their mouths are 11 feet wide. 400 stone workers helped carve the faces. Workers had to climb up 500 feet above the ground to carve the faces. Native American history. Native Americans lived in the Black Hills long before Mount Rushmore was built. It was a special place for them. It is important to learn about Native Americans and their history. For this reason, the monument includes a Native American heritage village. Visitors can see teepees. They can find traces of Native American life long ago. The heritage village gives clues to the past. It teaches visitors even more about Mount Rushmore and our country's history. Discover the facts. Most people visit Mount Rushmore in the summer. Park rangers talk about the history of the mountain. Visitors can visit the museum to learn more. They can discover facts about the presidents. They can also visit the artist's studio. Mount Rushmore is an important landmark. It is a symbol of our country's history, and it reminds people of 4 great presidents. Native Americans teach visitors about their culture at the Heritage Village.
Respond to the text. Use important details from the selection to summarize. Why is a mountain of history a good title for this selection? Why do so many people visit monuments and landmarks?
Genre: expository text. Time for kids. Compare texts. Read about a landmark street in Los Angeles, California that celebrates Mexican American culture. A landmark street. Olvera Street is the birthplace of Los Angeles. It started with a small group of settlers from Mexico. That was over 200 years ago. Since then, Los Angeles has grown into a great city, and this city remembers its past. Olvera Street is part of the El Pueblo de Los Angeles Monument. This place keeps history alive. Old buildings and museums on Olvera Street show visitors about its Mexican past. One of these is the Avila Adobe. It was built in 1818. It is the city's oldest building. It shows how people in California lived back then. Families visit Olvera Street to learn about California history. They also enjoy the famous outdoor market. Musicians play cheerful Mexican and Spanish music. Folk dancers whirl in colorful costumes. Everybody has a good time on Olvera Street, and they learn about the past, too. Places to visit. Olvera Street is just one of many landmarks and monuments in the United States. Here is a look at some others. What do you think you can learn from each one? Statue of Liberty. Location: New York City, New York. Date created: 1886. Why it's important. The statue is a symbol of freedom and liberty. France gave it to the United States as a gift of friendship. It stands in New York City Harbor. Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Location: Tennessee and North Carolina. Date created: 1934. Why it's important. The park is one of the last large hardwood forests in the country. It's a safe place for many animals. There are about 1,500 black bears in the park today. John F. Kennedy Space Center. Location: Cape Canaveral, Florida. Date created: 1965. Why it's important. The first men to walk on the moon blasted off from the Kennedy Space Center in 1969. Since then, NASA has launched 135 missions from here. Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial. Location: Washington, D.C. Date created: 2011. Why it's important. Martin Luther King Jr. wanted all people to have the same rights. He inspired people to fight for the rights of African Americans.
Okay, so we're going to go in and take a look at your weekly story in our reading and writing workshop book, and we're still going to be talking about landmarks here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the read aloud. You will have access over here to your vocabulary words and some of the sentences that they use the vocabulary words in, so you're seeing how to use it correctly.
Time for kids. Essential question: how do landmarks help us understand our country's story? Read about what one national landmark teaches us. A natural beauty. It is a famous landmark in the United States, and it's huge. It is 1 mile deep and 10 miles wide. It was carved out of rock by the Colorado River. It stretches across parts of 4 states. What is it? It's the Grand Canyon. Exploring the canyon. Many tourists visit the Grand Canyon. In fact, almost 5 million people take a trip to this national treasure each year. People come from around the world to hike the dusty trails. They take boat rides down the Colorado River. They gaze across miles of massive red and brown cliffs. Nature lovers visit the Grand Canyon too. They come to look for animals. They peek at the hundreds of different kinds of plants. They may spot eagles and see mountain lions. They may spy snakes and spiders, and some may even see bats. Some visitors also come to learn about the canyon's history.
History of the Canyon. Explorers from Europe first saw the Grand Canyon in 1540. But Native Americans were the first people to explore the Grand Canyon. Groups of Native Americans settled there long before 1540. One group was the ancestral Puebloans. They lived in the canyon for more than 1,000 years. They were farmers and hunters. Scientists have found traces or parts of their old homes still standing. Scientists have also found ancient rocks in the Grand Canyon. These rocks are some of the oldest in the world. They are clues to how the canyon was formed. Some scientists look for clues about the people who lived there. They have found tools and pieces of pottery. Map. A great big park. This map shows where the Grand Canyon is located. Map key. Circle. City. Red line. Highway. Green. Grand Canyon National Park. Caption. Grain was stored in buildings like these.
It's a landmark. President Theodore Roosevelt visited the Grand Canyon in 1903. He saw how beautiful it was. He said it was a special place. As a result, he made it a national monument. Then in 1919, the Grand Canyon was declared a national park. That means the land is protected. No one can build homes on it. The Grand Canyon is a place all Americans can enjoy. Protect the canyon. It is important for people to take care of national landmarks. We can do our part by following the rules when we visit. Animals and wildlife are safe there and should not be touched. Rivers must be kept clean. There is still a lot to learn about this beautiful landmark. It is important that we protect it. Bighorn sheep live in the Grand Canyon.
Okay, so let's get started on our comprehension skill and strategy. And again, these are tools that we have and strategies and clues that we use to help us get a better understanding of what we're reading and what the author is trying to tell us. So our strategy for today or for this week is going to be to ask and answer questions about the text that we're reading. And our skill for this week is taking a look at the main idea and the key details that the author gives us so that we have a better understanding of what the reading is about.
Ask and answer questions. Stop and ask yourself questions as you read. Then look for details to support your answers. Find text evidence. Reread the section Exploring the Canyon on page 87. Think of a question, then read to answer it. Exploring the Canyon. Many tourists visit the Grand Canyon. In fact, almost 5 million people take a trip to this national treasure each year. People come from around the world to hike the dusty trails. They take boat rides down the Colorado River. They gaze across miles of massive red and brown cliffs. Nature lovers visit the Grand Canyon too. They come to look for animals. They peek at the hundreds of different kinds of plants. They may spot eagles and see mountain lions. They may spy snakes and spiders, and some may even see bats. Some visitors also come to learn about the canyon's history. I have a question. Why do people visit the Grand Canyon? I read that people like to hike trails and take boat rides. They like to look at the animals and cliffs. They go to learn about its history. Now I can answer my question. People visit the canyon for many reasons. Main idea and key details. The main idea is the most important point the author makes about a topic. Key details tell about the main idea. Find text evidence. What details tell about why people visit the Grand Canyon? I can reread page 87 and find important details. Then I can figure out what these key details have in common to tell the main idea. Graphic organizer. Detail. People hike the trails and take boat rides down the river. Detail. They like to gaze across the massive red and brown cliffs.
So like we said earlier, we're talking about an expository or an informational text, and that's usually a piece of writing that's written to teach you something or to share information with you, which means it's also nonfiction writing. So let's go ahead and listen to a little bit more about expository texts.
Expository text. A natural beauty is an expository text. Expository text gives facts and information about a social studies topic. Includes text features such as photographs, captions, sidebars, and maps. Find text evidence. I can tell that a natural beauty is an expository text. It gives facts and information about the Grand Canyon. It also has photographs, captions, a sidebar, and a map. Text features. Captions. Captions give extra information that is not in a text. Map. A map is a flat drawing of a real place. Sidebar. A sidebar gives more information about a topic.
So we've talked about a lot of these text features before. Remember, the captions are usually the little words that you'll see underneath a picture that tell you more about it. And a sidebar is generally when you have information that's kind of written in the side of a page. So there isn't a sidebar here, but there was a sidebar in some of our other readings where it'll have additional information that's kind of out in the margin that's separate from the main body of the text. Now here we're going to discuss multiple meaning words again.
Multiple meaning words. Multiple meaning words have more than one meaning. Find other words in the sentence to help you figure out the meaning of a multiple meaning word. Find text evidence. On page 87, I see bats. This word can mean wooden sticks used to hit a ball, or small animals that fly. The context clues, spy snakes and spiders, can help me figure out that bats are animals in this sentence. Now I know that bats here are small animals that fly at night. They may spy snakes and spiders, and some may even see bats.
Okay, so here we're going to see a couple examples from our grammar. So we're going to go ahead and listen to the author's writing and read the information on the sides.
The author gives facts that convinced me that the Grand Canyon is an important landmark. What facts does the author include? The canyon is a mile deep. It was carved out of rock by the Colorado River. Mountain lions and eagles live in the canyon. Some visitors come to enjoy nature, but other people come to learn about history. The author says that the Grand Canyon was made a national park in 1919. Now I know why. State an opinion. My first sentence tells what I think about the text. Sentence types. I used statements, questions, and exclamations to make my text more interesting. Supporting reasons. I based my opinion on evidence from the text.
So here you can see that with their writing, they didn't just tell you what they thought, they gave you their opinion, but the way they strengthened their writing or made it better, a better piece of writing and a stronger piece of writing is by adding facts and information from the text directly.
Grammar. Two simple sentences can be combined with the conjunction but to make a compound sentence.
So here you can see that the sentence that they used, which they turned into a compound sentence, says some visitors come to enjoy nature, comma, but other people come to learn about history. So the way you know that this is a compound sentence is two ways. The first way is that there's the comma and the conjunction right here, the coordinating conjunction. And the second way is you can read this by itself and then read this by itself, and both of them would be correct sentences on their own. So if I were to read them separately, it could say some visitors come to enjoy nature, and I could have had a period there. And then I could start a new sentence saying other people come to learn about the history. So those would be two correct sentences on their own. When we combine them, it makes the reading a little bit more interesting for the reader, and it keeps it a little bit more concise. Instead of having a lot of choppy, short sentences, it's nice to have a variety where some of them are short and some of them are longer, and that helps to keep your reader interested in your writing. So that's all your notes for this week for language arts, third grade. Like I said, I'm going to be putting the notes and the video link into this materials section that says ELA notes and video links for this week. You'll be able to find everything you need in there. Other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care, third grade. Bye-bye.